All right, excuse me. Back again here now, guys. We're going to take a run at some player and parent expectations, so hopefully a little longer. I got a list of things that I've written down here that I want to try to go through and just try to get us on the same page here with everything that we do. Um, so first of all, I'd like to say that I very much appreciate the fact that the earlier years of baseball have not set you up very well for all of this, right? Like I you know, watched it prior to having kids, put my own kids through it now. I see the circus that is, youth baseball far more than I ever had in the past. And so I appreciate that this is a major change for most of you. That some of these things will come as a big shock. And I welcome the feedback to it, and we try to, again, I use that term, meld or combine things together and try to see it from as many viewpoints as we can. But you know, that said, we have a few things in a way that the way that we go about things here. First of all, our communication, how we communicate. I would say, first of all, players, this is your career now, right? So the communication is your responsibility, right? If you have, if you're going to miss a practice, if you're going to be late, if you have a conflict, if you have something going wrong or going on, the communication needs to be from you, right? It doesn't need to be from your parents. All of you can email, all of you can text, all of you have the ability to do those things. It's your responsibility, right? Remember that the big picture of all this is that we're trying to prep you for college, right? We're trying to prep you for how you're going to communicate with, the coach from any school that you might be going to, right? I get that that's a little odd for, 12 going to be 13-year-olds, right? That's a little different, but right now this is where you start to learn those things and start to put those habits into play. That said, when rosters will be bigger, right, than most of you are used to, right? And you'll see in the big pictures of, playing, 6 and 7 games sometimes in a 3 or 4 day stretch, you got to use a bigger roster. You got to use a lot of bodies. I guarantee you, both players and parents, there'll be times where you're not happy. And that's part of it. I don't expect you to like, not being a starting player on a given day, right? But that said, you have to understand that that's part of it, right? And now the next note is that it's a two-way street, right? Meaning our job as coaches is also to communicate with you, to tell you, all right, Johnny, this is why you're not playing today, right? Or you're pitching game 2, and so you're going to rest in game 1, or you're DHing today for this reason because of this, right? And we might not be right. I mean, I can guarantee you we're going to be wrong a good amount of times, and but I can also guarantee you that there's some thought that's gone into what we're going to do, right, and how we're going to go about it, right? So, players, it's your responsibility to communicate. You might not always like the answers that you're getting, but it's your job to communicate. That said, this is our connection to some parent things as well. We're not going to discuss any player, any team, any playing time, any of those type of issues with a parent unless a player asks first, right? Like, we are more than willing to sit down and say, again, Johnny, this is you're not happy with this. Let's sit down and talk about it. And then if there's still some misunderstanding, then we can sit down and communicate with with parents. It's not that we want to, we don't want to create relationships, right? But realize that's not our goal, right? We're not trying to make a ton of friends with parents here. If it happens along the way, that's great. We want it to be a positive experience. But most importantly, our relationship is with the players and getting them ready to play at the next level, whatever that level is going to be, right? Now, that said, without fail, I guarantee I'll get a call, I'll get a text, I'll get an email from a parent that says, well, my son's just not good at communication, or he's just not good at confrontation, so I'd like to know this. Well, but this is the start of him getting better at those sort of things, right? And we'll nurse him through it. We understand that some younger guys here aren't great at that stuff, but that's, hopefully another skill that we can help teach outside of baseball that's going to help them, again, succeed not only in baseball, but in life, right? Trying to figure it out. So that said, some other goofy player things. Okay, these are just kind of my things over the years, and I think help to sort of represent us pretty easily, or pretty well, I should say. If you're wearing baseball pants, there's no untucked jerseys. Okay, jerseys are tucked in until, you know, if you're going to switch to shorts, that's something different, but you're not rolling up to the park with an untucked jersey. After the game, we're not ripping jerseys out and walking around with our jerseys out. It's not a good look. You know, kind of that goofy saying of how we do anything is how we do everything, right? Let's think about what, you know, what it means. How we look is amazingly important to us because we have to pass the eye test, right? Somebody that comes up and looks at our team or looks at our program has to look at it and say, that looks how it's supposed to be, right? So that's an important one to me. Nothing but traditional eye black. Okay, we've gone over that a little bit, right? It's not called eye gold and eye red. We're not going to put all kinds of stripes all over our face in different colors. We're not playing war paint. It's not football, right? We're not doing crosses or any sort of designs on our faces. We're just gonna, if you're gonna wear eye black, you're gonna have one strip that's traditional. Again, to that same point. When we give out our socks, whatever they're going to be this year, that's what it's going to be, right? I don't want to look out on the field and see one guy with all black socks, one guy with a skinny stirrup, one guy with a long stirrup, one guy with stripes with 4 different colors on it, right? Whatever we decide on for this year and we give out to you, that's what you're going to go with, okay? Turf shoes or tennis shoes to the field, right? We're not going to come up to the park with flip-flops on or slides on, because if we have to hit in a cage before the game in turfs, or we have to warm up on a football field, right, where you can't wear your cleats, you just have to have the availability to be able to do that, right? There's places where we go inside their building to go hit, right? And we got people hitting in socks or you know, flip-flops. It's not going to happen. Wear your turf shoes or wear your tennis shoes to games, or have them available so that you can do those sort of things. Team color stuff we talked about, right? Like, you know, wear your sleeves, wear your, you know, whatever you want underneath. We're not going to wear a bright yellow armband or some sort of, you know, ridiculous, you know, something that doesn't go with our just general color scheme. We're not leaving the dugout without talking to a coach. Get your stuff beforehand, right? Get your drinks, get your water, get your Gatorades. That's your responsibility for what you're going to be doing. Get all that stuff from your parents before the game. Parents, we're not in the dugout at any point. We're not talking to our kids from the stands. We'll get to some of that stuff as well. But, you know, once they're in, and, you know, outside of some sort of help needed, or, you know, heaven forbid an injury, something like that, you know, we have to keep that barrier at this stage. Okay. I may think of some other player stuff down the road. Okay, parents, again, going back to how we communicate. Again, there are going to be things that you don't like, right? That's probably the one promise that I can make for you. Again, remember the big picture of what we're doing, right? Are you better in August than you were in September, right? Those are the big things, and we put a gigantic emphasis all the time on the games and the wins and the losses, but, you know, really the true value of what we do is everything we've done in the fall so far, and all the things that we're going to do throughout the winter, and the training and the developing that we think we do pretty well. It doesn't mean the games aren't important. It doesn't mean that there aren't things to be taught in those games, but realize that that's just one element of what's happening. Okay. You know, again, without fail, I'm going to get the email or this or that. Realize that if you send me an email, you know, at 11 o'clock at night or the next morning with your thoughts on what's happening and what's going wrong and why you're doing this and that, I'm probably going to say one of two things. I'm going to give you some sort of like curt response of like, thank you in reply, or I'm going to say, I'm sorry you feel that way. You can turn in your stuff, right? Like, there are ways and there are channels to go about communicating outside of you being upset with things, right? Because again, I'm telling you, you will be at times, right? There's going to be some of that stuff, but look at the big picture, right? And figure out how to communicate through it, and then we're all better for it, okay? Parents, I realize that a lot of you coach, right, and have coached, and you're turning your kids over to us now, and I appreciate that. That's a big undertaking. The best you can, you got to try to let them go, right, and let the message be from us, right? You can talk to them on the way up. You can give them your 2 cents in the car ride home. All of that stuff has its importance, but they have to make sure that they are hearing one message from us. Very similar to what we talked about with the training, right? Like, the voice has to come with us, right, wrong, or indifference, right? And then there's times to go do it. That's what you are That's what you're in the program for, right? Again, it doesn't mean that you don't have the right answer. You might have the perfect thing to say for your son while he's playing, or before or after. But I implore you to leave that alone, and and talk after, and communicate in the proper channels, like we've discussed before. I hope I don't have to talk about this much, but I think for the sake of it, I will. I mean, if we're drinking at games, parents, and that's it, and that becomes an issue at all, and we're getting out of hand, like, I can tell you that it won't happen very long. Like, it's not going to happen a second time, right? So if we can't take care of ourselves, and we can't be responsible about what we're doing, then it's just not going to be around in the program anymore. Realizing the big picture that we think these are important, and we think that it's created the reputation that it has over the 15 years, and hopefully the next 20. Right, wrong, or indifferent relative to everybody else. This is what we are comfortable with, and this is what we can sleep with at night, knowing that we're trying to do things the right way. And for lack of a better term, I think we have a brand, and it's important to us that we think about that stuff, right? That the people that are, there's been a lot of people that came before you. There'll be a lot of people that come after you. Try to build on it. Try to make the situation better, right? As opposed to other things. And we've had very talented kids that leave for greener pastures, right? That don't agree with this or that, and I can say almost without fail, it's been almost a blessing, right? If it doesn't work because these aren't things that we like, or that players like and families don't like and want something else, good luck to you. We'll move on and we'll be okay, right? If we would all love to win 35 games in the summer, right? That would be awesome. Far more importantly than that, though, it is learning how to do things the right way and how to function at the next level, even if that means we lose a couple games because of that. So, and finally, like, I think this always happens, again, almost without fail, that there's people looking at this and saying, wow, these are all really good things. I really agree with it. I'm glad that everybody else has to follow these rules but me, right? Like, we get to, well, I can kind of, I can do this. Those are great rules. I mean, the rules apply to everybody, right? I mean, obviously we have relationships with people that we've known for longer in the program. But again, the big picture is about teaching the players and getting them to understand how to act, how to carry themselves, how to look the part, right? How to pass the eye test when people are coming to watch us. So hopefully that portrays some things and gets us on the right edge. And again, like I said at the beginning, I get that that's different. I realize that the majority of the things that we're saying are, not instilled at the lower level. So you kind of come to this point with some preconceived patterns, maybe, or ways of going about things. But this is how we do it here, and I think it's important that we get it out on the table for what we like. And again, two-way street. We got to be accountable as well. We got to communicate as well. It's our job as coaches to let kids know where they're at, where they stand, and it has worked for a decent amount of time, and we continue to develop and look at ways to make the whole product better, right? Off the field and on the field. So thanks again. If we have questions, just reach out to me, comments, anything else we need to say, please do it. We'll talk soon.